Very good evening to one and all present here. I welcome you all to the third day of International Webinar Series on Towards Mental Wellness Through Positive Psychology, organized by Department of Education, Western College of Education. Today we have eminent speakers to enlighten us on brain functioning in mental wellness. We would like participants to stand on your respective places for the invocation.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் மதனமென திகழ்வரத கண்டனிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனன் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம்பியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you all. Now I request our principal, Dr. S. Devasahayam Selvakumar sir, to welcome and introduce the speakers. Over to principal sir.
Respected Madam Dr. Shobha, Principal of NVKST College of Education, Athur from Kanyakumari district. Respected Professor Jogida Begum, Professor and Head, Department of Education, Kandigram Rural Institute, Dindigul. Revered Secretary of our Association, Western College of Education, Reverend Father Nurdusami Susai. Dear delegates and my dear colleagues, very warm welcome to you all. You all know that we have been organizing this international webinar for a period of 5 days, starting from day before yesterday. Today we have come across the third day. The theme of the third day of this webinar at the international level is brain functioning in mental health. For this session, we have an expert in the field of cognitive science, Dr. Jogida Begum, in our midst. She is serving as the professor and head of the Department of Education, Gandhigram Rural Institute at Dindigul. When I approached her to give a special lecture on this theme, immediately she has given her consent. I know that she is an expert in this field of cognitive science. If you go through her biodata, I hope everyone will accept. She has 2 decades of teaching experience. In research also, she has guided about 15 students for the award of PhD degree. To her credit, she has written 16 books and she has published more than 70 articles in leading journals. Some of them are university teachers, character, leadership, and brain. Most of her articles are related to functioning of brain. Another article titled Minimizing Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorders among the high school students using attention activation strategies. One more important publication is the conceptual evaluation of metacognition. She has undertaken 6 projects also. One of the projects is the effect of metacognitive and neurocognitive strategies on enhancing teaching competency of pre-service trainees. Therefore, she is really an expert in this field. In today's session, she has organized many seminars and she has attended many workshops. She has given many invited talks, more than 50 in number. Of course, I hope she will be the real expert for this session on brain functioning in mental health. On behalf of the college management, staff and students, I accord you, Madam, for your valuable presence in our midst.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
I take this opportunity to welcome our respected Madam, Dr. Shobha, who is serving the community in the capacity of Principal, NVKST College of Education, Atur from Kanyakumari district. She also has extended her help, academic support in some of the activities of our Western College of Education. She has served as an honorable member in the Board of Studies of our college. She has more than 2 decades of experience in the field of teaching and research. She has been specialized in educational statistics. To her credit, she has been guiding many scholars for the award of PhD, MPhil, and MBed degrees. She is also a very good research supervisor and organized many seminars and conferences at the national and international level in her college. Really, I thank you, Madam, for your presence here.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Thank you.
And I welcome you for this
you.
webinar at the international level.
Thank you.
I take this opportunity to thank and welcome our respected Secretary, revered Father Lourdusamy Susai, for his valuable presence in almost all the programs of our college. Thank you very much, Father, for all your support and your suggestion to have each and every program in a systematic way. I take this opportunity to welcome all the delegates from all over the world and the special invitees, supporters of our college, and the staff of our college. Once again, I take this opportunity to welcome all of you gathered here for this international webinar, particularly the resource person, Professor Jahida Begum, Dr. Shobha, and our respected Secretary, revered Father Lourdusamy Susai. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful introduction. Now, I request Dr. Shobha ma'am, Principal of NBKST College of Education, Atur, Kanyakumari, to deliver the prelude address. Over to you, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're clear.
A warm good afternoon to everyone present in this virtual platform. First of all, let me thank the Principal of Western College of Education, Chennai, Dr. Devasahayam Selvakumar sir, and the coordinators for inviting me for the introductory remarks in the international web series. The theme for today's discussion, brain functioning in mental health, is of much relevance in this present scenario. We all know the whole world is fighting against the new virus. 6 months into the coronavirus pandemic, many places in the world are on the verge of another health crisis, that is a mental disorder. The pandemic and the lockdown have massive impact on the lives of the people. It is evident that the pandemic, besides leading to severe morbidity and mortality, has serious emotional, social, and economic consequences, which could first worsen further. And most of the people find it difficult to adjust with the new lifestyle and fear of disease. Panic disorders, phobias are often seen among people, especially the student community, about their uncertainty of studies, unemployment, poverty, and so on. So the challenges posed by the pandemic are severe as it affects the physical and mental health of the people, the finances, and social life. Between March and July 2020, nearly 66 children committed suicide in one of our neighboring states who are in the age group of 12 to 18 years, despite the functioning of DISHA. DISHA is District Intervention System for Health Awareness round the clock to deal with the psychological impact of the pandemic. The most common emotion by all now is fear that makes people anxious, scared, and do things what society consider abnormal and inappropriate. Many students are suffering from anxiety, hopelessness, worthlessness, uncertainty about future, and so on. And according to the clinical psychologist, the main hurdle faced by the children is their inability to properly communicate their emotional issues. They feel helpless to change that frustrating circumstances or to find a solution for their problems. And as teachers, we have come across students with signs of mental health issues. To a large extent, what I feel is our sympathetic approach and care will help them to overcome the crisis. And providing psychological first aid and counseling nowadays have become quintessential. And World Health Organization, WHO, in one of the circulars, stress the need for mental health and psychological consideration in the post-COVID-19 outbreak. How our brain function is very much associated with the mental health. As we know, human brain, it's an amazing organ which controls the whole body. And this complex structure with billions of nerve cells communicate and work together for the body to function normally. Connection between the nerve cells can lead to problems with how the brain processes information and may result in abnormal mood thinking, behavior, and so on. Actually, our brain makes up only 2% of our body weight, but consumes 20% of the oxygen we breathe in and 20% of the energy we take in. It controls virtually everything we experience, including movements, sensation, breathing, and controlling our emotions. And most scientists believe that mental health is affected when the communication between neurons in the brain is low. Today, a very eminent academician in this field, Dr. A. Jahida Begum, Professor and Head, Department of Education, Gandhigram Rural Institute, is here for the scholarly address on brain functioning in mental health. With these words, I conclude. And once again, a big thanks to Dr. Selvakumar sir for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Shobana ma'am, for your wonderful introductory note. You highlighted the challenges faced by the people during this pandemic, and you listed out the connection between brain and mental wellness. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful speech. Now, I request Dr. Jahida Begum ma'am, Professor and Head, Department of Education, Gandhigram Rural Institute, Dindigul, Tamil Nadu, to deliver the special address. Over to Jahida ma'am. Ma'am, unmute yourself and talk, ma'am.
Most respected Principal of Meston College of Education, Dr. Devasagayam Selvakumar, respected Professor, Madam Shobha, College of Education from Attur, Kanyakumari district, respected faculty members of Meston College of Education, respected and Reverend Father Durdusamy from Meston College of Education, dear delegates and participants from all over the globe and all the delegates. Really, it is immense pleasure to me for taking part in this international webinar series on towards mental health through positive psychology. I appreciate Dr. Selvakumar for having organized a theme which is very much relevant in this present COVID situation, and also I congratulate the management for having given this permission to organize this international webinar. I thank the kind words of Professor Dr. Selvakumar towards me, though I am a budding researcher in this field, cognitive science, and I thank Madam Shobha for giving a wonderful introduction about the topic. Dear delegates, really it is the need of the hour to discuss on mental health, because each and every one of us are undergoing some sort of stress or some sort of mental health problems every day. It is not confined to those people who have some brain problems, but all of us, even the normal person, people with some disease, and also people under high work pressure, everyone are suffering in one way or other because of these mental health problems. So it is very essential that first we have to take care of our mental health, then only the physical health problems will be okay. So again and again, I take this opportunity to thank the management, and also it has given me a good input to me also to think about my own mental health. So really thank you very much, sir. This title itself has given a lot of insight to our functioning. So first, I would like to share my PPT. This mental health, the role of functioning of brain and mental health. So PPT is visible?
No, ma'am, not visible.
Just a minute. Is it possible to share the PPT through your device?
And now we could see, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, brain is a wonderful organ as introduced by our speaker, Madam Shobha, that Almighty has given very good organ, that is very much amazing organ, that is our brain. The brain, but for brain, there is no cognitive function, there is no high level intelligence, there are no disputes, there are no agreements or nothing, isn't it? As she rightly pointed out, brain is such an amazing organ. It controls our body and it controls our thinking, our language, and whatnot. Brain is solely responsible of our functioning. And this 10 years, the last 20 years of research in brain, they have find out, the neuroscientists have find out the working of our brain. And they have come out with a lot of insights and lot of experience to the teachers, to the patients, to the students, and to the community. But what they have found out is only 10% of the brain functioning. And thanks to the new field of neuroscience and technological improvement in this field, because of scanning techniques and other aspects, now we are able to understand what is intelligence, how learning is taking place, and what is mental health even, and what is the role of brain in mental health. So this is what we have to speak today. So I'm going to discuss the brain functioning, the role of brain, the parts of the brain, the parts in which the brain has a dominant role in mental health, and what are the strategies, how to keep up with the reduce the what are the strategies to have positive mental health. So in this way, I plan my session. So thanks to the 21st century developments, especially in the field of cognitive science, in the field of neuroscience, and in the field of technology. The brain, we know each and every one of us has some knowledge about the functioning of the brain and even the structure of the brain. The brain has, if we take three important parts are very much essential to know. The one is cerebrum, the next is cerebellum, and the next is medulla oblongata. So these three parts are very essential. And previously we thought that senses are the gateways of knowledge. But now it has been slightly changed as emotions are gateways of learning. But for emotions, there is no learning. Why? Because emotions play an important role in mental health. That's why the teachers, we teachers and teacher educators, we should know that emotions play a dominant role, not only in our mental health, but also in our learning. So we should know how to keep up or how to cope up our emotions, especially the positive emotions. The positive emotions like happiness, trustworthiness, and sharing, and love and affection. These are the emotions which are very much responsible for our positive mental health. Next slide, please. Next slide. So in the structure of the brain cells, structure of the brain, we know that 100 billion neurons are working. 100 billion neurons are there in our brain. So these 100 billion neurons are responsible for our cognitive function, for our mental functioning, for our character, and for our behavior, For everything, these 100 billion neurons are responsible. And I want to stress here, our brain is made up of two types of cells. One is nerve cells, that is gray matter, and next is white matter or glial cells. Both are responsible and both play a dominant role in the brain functioning. So we have to take care of our nerve cells, because once the nerve cells, the neurons die, they will not regenerate. So they play an important role in the mental health. So it is, we have to take care of our nerve cells, that is neurons. So we are, each and every one of us, endowed with 100 billion nerve cells, and these nerve cells are responsible for our brain system. Next, if we are talking about the emotions. So what is the seat of the emotion in our brain? Where the emotions are generated in our brain, or we can put it in this way, which part of the brain is responsible for our emotions? That is the limbic system. The limbic system is the place, that is the inner part of our brain, which is responsible for generating all sorts of emotion, whether they are good or bad or negative or positive. All the emotions, when we act emotionally, this limbic system in our brain is very active. It has four important or major parts. They are amygdala, hippocampus, hypothalamus, and pituitary gland. Friends, now we are very much afraid of this pandemic situation. If this coronavirus attacks me, what will happen? Even we have seen many people are committing suicide, or in the as a sort of fear to overcome this virus. So, if you which part is responsible for fear in our brain? That is amygdala. Amygdala is responsible for fear. If we remove this amygdala, even if we ask a person to jump from 100-story building, he will jump, because he will not realize what is fear. He will not experience the emotion fear. So this limbic system is very much responsible for major role. Suppose if we have some fear, anxiety, and some people will used to worry always even about trivial things. So this is the seat, or this is the place, that is the limbic system, which is responsible for this emotion. In this next slide, you can see the inner part of the brain, that is the limbic system, and you can see where it lies in our brain, that is inner part of the brain. So there is one gland, that is pituitary gland, and it is called as the master gland, and it controls the brain functioning as well as the body functioning. And hypothalamus here acts as a relay station, and this is responsible for giving the response stimulus from the body, and also from the brain to body and body to brain. Then apart from this, in our brain, what is responsible for other aspects for emotions? That is the brain chemicals. You know, sometimes people used to say chemistry is working out or not. Like that they used to comment also. Suppose if two individuals are very friendly, we used to comment, oh, chemistry is working out between you. That's why you people are very friendly, isn't it? Like that we used to comment. So these chemicals in our brain, they also play a very important role in emotions. A dozen of chemicals are in our brain, and these chemicals are nothing but neurotransmitters. They play important role in the synapses, that is neural network. You know, our brain has 100 billion neurons, and each and every neuron has the capacity to connect with thousands of neurons. This connectivity is called the neural network. And during the neural network, that is called the firing of the neurons. Neural network is nothing but firing and wiring of the neurons. During this process, a lot of electricity, electrical impulses, as well as chemicals will be released between one neuron and the other. So these are the chemicals which present only in minute, only in nano quantity. For example, if you take serotonin, this neurotransmitter is responsible for having the emotion pleasure. Sometimes painkillers consist of serotonin, and sometimes when we eat a large amount of carbohydrate, after that serotonin will be secreted and we will feel some sort of drowsiness. Like that, all these neurotransmitters, they play a dominant role in emotions. When you see each neurotransmitter here, for example, you take dopamine. Dopamine is very much responsible for affection, and also this is very much responsible for one disease called Parkinson's disease. Nobel laureates who have found out that this serotonin particular neurotransmitter, they are given Nobel Prize even. So likewise, each and every neurotransmitter is responsible and connected with emotions. So when we are in high emotions like positive emotions, or when we are in our low level emotions like negative emotions, something is wrong with this. Especially when we have negative emotions, something is wrong with our functioning or the presence of these neurotransmitters. So very nano level quantity will affect very huge expense, that is very big behavior changes, behavior problems in the individuals. So these neurotransmitters play a dominant role in emotional functioning of a human being. That's what I would like to stress here. So the first brain part which is responsible for emotion is limbic system. The next is the brain chemicals which are responsible for our emotional behavior. And next, I would like to stress up endorphins. Friends, suppose if I get a prize, or if I awarded with some good aspects. Suppose if I, in this pandemic situation, I have a passport to go to Singapore, and now I am free to go there, and air travel is allowed now, then I will be in some sort of pleasure or some sort of happiness. So which chemicals are responsible for producing this happiness is they are called endorphins. Endorphins, or they reduce the pain and give some sort of pleasure. So this is very much responsible for our positive mental health. No, people with a positive mental health will always behave friendly with other people, and they will not quarrel much, and they will be happy. As teachers, we have to be happy, and we have to take care of our mental health, and also we have to take care of our students' mental health. So if we are not happy, how do we promote that happiness among our students? So in this way, this mental health is very much important for the teachers. Just I want to say this. And really, again, I congratulate the organizers for having given this topic. So if endorphins are secreted in our body in a proper way, then we will be in a good mood. Even sometimes some people will not feel hungry also, no. That is also a sort of disease. It is also a sort of mental as well as physical disease. But these endorphins will promote appetite, and it will take care of our BP in a proper way, and also our mood will be good, and even the learning aspect will be good. So endorphins are acting as neurotransmitters here, and I would like to say that it is our duty to take care of endorphins. How do we promote endorphins inside our brain or inside our body? How it is possible? It is possible very much by doing exercises. It is possible very much when we do physical activities. So if we are active, our body will be active as well as our brain will be active. So please take care of endorphin level in your body. Then suppose if we are under stress, as madam pointed out in this pandemic situation, each and every one of us has some mental problems or some worries or some health issues. So when we are under stress, another hormone called cortisol, this level will be high. Next slide, please. If cortisol level is high level, it will lead to stress. If stress is continuing and if we can't cope up with our stress, then we have this depression. Stress will lead to depression also. So we have to lower the level of the cortisol and we have to keep higher the level of endorphins. Each and every one of us have stress. There is no doubt in that. Whether we are rich or poor, economically good or bad, whether our teachers or students, our family problems, our economic problems, our health issues, and our friends and our relatives, whatnot. Each and every factor in our life will create some stress. But we should know how to cope up with this stress. That is very, very important, because if we don't cope up with the stress, means it will lead to lot of physical health problems. So my dear friends, today the doctors and also the scientists have come out with one truth, that is the mental problems play a dominant role in our physical problems. If we take care of our mental health, 70% of our health issues will be minimized. That's what today the doctors used to say, that please take care of your mental health. That is very, very important. And that's what they request the patients, please lower your anxiety, lower your worrying, and also especially the diabetes, BP, it has a strong connection with our mental health. That's why we teachers always use this strategy, that is humor in our day-to-day life. We should not take everything very serious and we have to worry. So we have to have some humor, and always we have to practice this humor in our teaching, in our day-to-day life, and also we have to promote this positive feeling. That is, humor is a very good and emotion, and it is a positive emotion, and we have to take care of this humor in our day-to-day life, and we have to practice this. This should be practiced. We should not be serious. We have seen many people in our life, those who are very serious, and they will not even give a smile to others, or they will not laugh. So this is a serious problem, and this is a serious mental health. The people with good mental health, they always move with people in a light manner, or they will take everything in a light way. So that is also important. So we can, all of us, with some sort of humor is essential in our life. Next slide, please. So humor is acting as a stress buster, or we can say humor is very good in our day-to-day teaching, because it promotes a positive climate among our friends and also among our students, and it increases memory also. majority of our students will not forget the teacher who is moving very friendly with them. So this is very essential. At the same time, we should see that humor should not at the expense of others. Teasing should not be there should not be any sarcasm, and it must be used as a effective tool. Then coming to the point, how to promote this positive mental health. There are many ways, isn't it? We can have some hobbies. We can spend our time in a very good way or useful way, and we can have some active way of working. Suppose if you are very busy in our working, we will forget our worries. We will not have worries at all, because all the time we have to concentrate on our work, and we will worry. We will not worry at all, isn't it? So another important strategy to cope up with emotions is that is meditation. You know, the people with some sorts of brain injuries or some brain dysfunction, we have poor mental health. But how to bring brain? That is the major issue. And I want to stress here, meditation is nothing but training our brain. So we can train our brain. How? The answer is meditation. All of us have some trivial problems in our brain. We don't know that. That is the fact. But that's why our elders used to say, everything you pass on to Almighty, isn't it? The positive psychology is changing our worries or shouldering the worries on Almighty. India is a place where people are doing a lot. Is the only way to reduce worries. There are some sorts of waves are there. I told you in the beginning that our neurons are connected with each other. That is called neural networks. During the neural networks, active working of the neurons, brain produces the electricity. Next slide, please. Brain produces the electricity that is called brain waves, electric impulses. The brain has the capacity to eliminate electric impulses, that is called brain waves. In our brain, we have some 5 types of waves. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Next. The brain has the capacity, next, to produce the waves. Yes, they are gamma waves, beta waves, alpha waves, and delta waves. So these gamma waves, their meditation has proved that the brain activity is improved due to meditation. That is the highest level of gamma activity. And during our meditation, our brain will be very calm. It will not think and think further. You know, for poor mental health or for worries, the main problem is we used to think and think, and we will keep on thinking, this will happen, that will happen, what will happen, isn't it? So thinking is a problem if it is not stopped in right time. So these theta waves are produced in large quantity when we are doing the meditation. That is also proved nowadays. Next slide. So highest gamma level activity, high neuronal activity, everything is very much, these are the results of good meditation. So we don't know what will happen. We used to say that meditation will give this effect, that effect and all, we know. But we don't know scientifically what is happening inside our brain due to meditation. That's what I just would like to share with you all. Next, due to meditation, the cortex region in our brain is become very thick, because you know our brain has large quantity of cortex region than the animals. That's why human beings are supposed to be very intelligent than animals. So in this cortex region, this is responsible for all sorts of thinking, all sorts of problem solving abilities, and also concentration. Everything is responsible for this cortical, this cortex region in our cerebrum. The brain cerebrum is nothing but all sorts of cortex, because for example, we have auditory cortex, visual cortex. When we see, visual cortex is working. When we hear, auditory cortex is working. When we speak or write, or when we do some skills, this motor cortex is working. So this cortex region in our brain is 90% of our brain is nothing but that cortex. So this cortical thickness is improving because of this meditation. And another important aspect I would like to share with you, another part that is called our frontal lobe. You know, our brain part, which is this part of the brain, that is our forehead. This part of the brain is known as prefrontal cortex. Next slide. This part is called a prefrontal cortex. This part is very much responsible for our emotions, especially decision making. And now in America, the serious problem is not corona previously. The serious problem is suicide. Even in our country, we have seen the youngsters are committing suicide. And this type of suicide is nothing but poor mental health and also negative emotion. So which part is responsible for this suicide? No, this prefrontal cortex, it is responsible for taking a good or bad, or emotional decisions. This part will not grow up to the age of 20. That's why many adolescents, they will commit suicide. Emotional decision, not rational decision. So friends, we have to take care of our students and our children, those who are taking, because the emotions, the hormones will be in a high level. So they will take any decision which is emotionally good or bad, they will take. So meditation will improve the brain activity associated with this prefrontal cortex, because this part is responsible for happiness and positive emotions. So friends, that's why I have written an article that parents and teachers, they have to act as prefrontal cortex for their children. After the age of 20 only, this part will develop completely. So this is the underlying scientific aspect in our brain for negative emotions. Then we can change the working of the brain. There is no doubt in that. Even yesterday I happened to view a video in which a doctor who has seen some 80,000, 90,000 brain scans, he has come out with one important finding, that those people with negative emotions, or those people who have some behavior problems, they have some sort of brain problems, some sort of problems in their brain. But this problems can be rectified by meditation and also I can say some medication and meditation. So these two are possible. So we teachers have the capacity to bring out some behavioral changes in our students, and we can change the working of our brain, our own brain, and also our students' brain. Next slide. So this neuronal firing is there, and neuronal density. In the next slide, you can see the firing of the neurons, isn't it? Really, it is a simulated picture. So when neurons fire and wire with each other, that is called neuronal firing. That is called a neuronal network. By seeing this neuronal network, artificial ANN is created in the computers nowadays, and now machines are better than human beings, isn't it? Now they are working how to bring emotions in the machines. So meditation has proved that the brain wave patterns, like we can change, and neuronal firing also change. These are some of the research in the field of supporting meditation, and these are the forthcoming slides will prove that there is a lot of research undergoing in this aspect, that is to prove the effect of meditation in our brain functioning as well as the brain behavior. And then meditation has the power to increase the white matter, what the research states now. I'm not telling anything or everything by my own. I'm referring the books, journals, and other aspects, and I'm giving this information to you. So meditation has the power to change or to increase the white matter. White matter is nothing but support to the fuel of our brain. That is some sort of fat which is responsible for our brain functioning. But for oxygen and but for white matter, neurons will not survive. So proves that meditation has the power to bring changes in our neural plasticity, in our neural functioning, in our brain functioning, whatnot, everything. So, my dear friends, we should know how to regulate our emotions and our behavior. Some people, for them, some problem is there. Even one doctor says, one big problem creator in the US, that is, he used to shoot everyone that he come across. Shooting on almost 100 individuals. When his brain is scanned and when they see what is there in his, at last he committed suicide and died. So they will find out what is the problem in his brain for this negative emotion. That is why he killed other people and why he also committed the suicide. They found out that there is one big tumor inside the brain, and that is the problem for his behavior. So as Shobha madam pointed out in the beginning, only this 2% of our brain weight of our body, this wonderful tissue, we don't know what is happening, what is inside there, what is there inside the brain, how it functioning. For example, when you take heart, kidney, liver, the transplantation of these organs is very much possible nowadays. But transplantation of brain is still didn't take place, and 90% of the brain functioning was unraveled. Nobody has found out 100%. No, there is no brain functioning model so far. So I think Almighty, the Creator, he only knows how the brain is functioning, because it's difficult to see even through the electronic microscope. But the changes in the developments in the field of neuroscience is giving some inputs. So that's why we human beings have to depend upon a superpower. We could not solve all our problems. We could not change anything in our life because everything is predetermined, and we have to, suppose in this pandemic situation, no one, when we ask our father, mother, or grandfather, grandparents, no one experienced this situation so far in their life. So this is given by Almighty. This problem has to be solved by Almighty. We don't have solution, but that's why we have to always depend on this superpower. According to our religion, we call many names for this superpower. We Muslims call Allah, Christians call Jesus, and Hindus call their own names of their gods. So there is one superpower which controls the whole universe. So friends, this mental health or mental problems or our worries or stress, these are the causes of our negative mental health. So if we want to control everything, it is not possible. So for positive mental health, people will take everything positively, even our worries very much in a positive way, but we can seek help from the Almighty. Next slide. So some other following slides proves the effect of meditation. So I am here to share my view that we can change the brain functioning to some extent. We can bring positive emotions. We should know how to cope up with emotions, and we should live happily in this world. And there are some brain parts which are responsible for the emotions. As teachers, we should know, and also we should pass this message to our friends, relatives, and our students, so that our emotions and behavior can be controlled in a fruitful way, and we can lead a life in a fruitful manner. So friends, this for many of our physical health, like blood pressure, heart diseases, is very much responsible. So these slides will speak about the power of meditation and how meditation play an important role in bringing positive mental health, and how to keep this organ, that is our brain, in a healthy manner. We will worry about external physical health and also external beauty and all. But we have to worry about this organ. Always have positive emotions and positive thinking. That is one healthy way to keep our mental health. So Almighty has bestowed with very good, amazing organ called brain. We have to take care of not only our body, but also our brain. It will boost up some positive mental health in our brain function. So dear friends, I just has given an outline of brain functioning and mental health. I didn't go deep into that because within the given time, and also it is very difficult for you to listening through online mode. Always this face-to-face mode is good in promoting some sort of behavior. So we have to take care of body, we have to take care of brain, and we have to take care of mental health also. We Indians are very good in meditation, but nowadays we forget and we move to Western culture, and Western people are copying our culture, but we are copying their culture, and we forget this meditation. So I hope that everything will be solved by only the help of Almighty. So please do some meditation, do some physical work, and be active. Keep very good relations with our friends and the relatives, and by this way we can bring some positive changes in our brain. We can have good mental health, and we can do wonders in our work also. So thank you so much. I think I have not given high level of doses, but I have given very few aspects of brain and mental health. So take care of your brain and promote positive mental health around you. Thank you so much. Once again, I thank the principal of Western College of Education, Professor Devasahayam sir, and also the convener of the program, the management, and Madam Shobha, and all the delegates for your listening and also giving ears to my lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There are very few people in the field of education to talk about brain and neuropsychology. I have listened to your lectures before, and you are one of the inspiration to many of us to learn, to have interest to learn about cognitive psychology and neuropsychology. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful input on brain functioning and mental wellness. Now I request Dr. Jayanta Mary, Assistant Professor of Education from Western College of Education, to put forth the questions, if any, in the chat box or in the YouTube. Over to Jayanta, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jhansi ma'am. And
Yes,
special thanks Dr. Sobha ma'am and Dr. Zahita Begum ma'am and for the superlative presentation and lecture. Now we have a few questions from the participants. The first question is, how can we help those students who have a history of self-harm and depression and is spending this lockdown in their rooms?
So really it is a difficult question for me to answer. Best, we teachers used to connect with our students always, whether in the lockdown or regular timings, especially in the lockdown, we have to be connected with our students with the help of social media and also online teaching. I'm not stressing upon the teaching, but as a guide, as a counselor, we have to get connected, isn't it? And motivate them. We have to, because they are less experienced. Their brain, especially the adolescent's brain, it is not developed at the full level. So, like mothers and like parents, like we teachers, we should first of all, this connectivity is very important. Even for LKG students, they need some sort of connectivity of their teachers. My grandson, so far he didn't study anything, but when he receives a message from the teacher in a sort of video, teacher's video, and after seeing that, he got motivated. In the lockdown period, we asked him to write ABCD, to write everything, but he didn't listen to us. But when he saw, the moment he saw the teacher's video in mobile, he started writing by his own. So it is kids, they will do by themselves, but adolescents and grown-up students like our students, they are also they also in some manner, some aspects, they will behave very like a child only. So I request the teachers to get connected with them, whether they like it or not. Please post some motivating messages. Whether they like it or not, please shoot some videos of you and give some sorts of messages. That's what I took on session, one online session for one college of education in Tiruchengood, what teachers should do during pandemic situation. So that's what I just wanted to stress here. Be connected. Don't teach, but ask them to learn by themselves. Give some sort of assignments for learning also. First of all, you please be connected. That is the only advice I just would like to share with you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The next question is, how are mental disorders diagnosed in young children?
There are many ways to diagnose the mental disorders. One way is teachers and parents. If we ask the teachers, if we ask the parents about their behavior, we can easily find out by through questionnaire or some checklist questions. The next way is to, if they have very serious problems, it should be diagnosed with the help of EEG or MRI or fMRI scans. So with the help of imaging techniques, we can diagnose any serious problems are there in their brain. If some trivial or little problems like behavioral problems, we can easily diagnose with their friends or with the parents or teachers. So Both scanning techniques and behavioral techniques are available.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. One more question. Does
Please.
brain remain active after death? If yes, how long?
No, the first organ we declare a person is dead is brain dead. First, the brain will stop its function, then slowly all the other organs will stop their function. So the organ which die first in our body is the brain, isn't it? So the brain will be active during our sleep, but brain will be dead. The death of a person indicated by brain's death. It will not be active after death. 100% sure.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next question. If a student is suffering from any kind of epilepsy problem, what are the remedies to keep them calm, tolerable in this COVID period?
Epilepsy.
Yes, ma'am.
Epilepsy.
Problem.
Okay, there are specialists in this field. So we have to approach the specialist only. We teachers can give some solution or some suggestions only, but the experts in this field, they have to be called upon, and for any learning disabilities, we have to contact the doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, and also the parents. So we teachers cannot solve all the major problems. We teachers can give some behavioral suggestions only if we are expert in this field. So we have to seek the help of the experts only.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And
Thank you,
thank you, dear participants. Now I hand over the session, Dr. Jhansi, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayanta Mary and Dr. Jagita ma'am. Now it is time to express our gratitude. Now may I request Dr. N. Evelyn Dayamani, Assistant Professor of Physical Science, Western College of Education, to propose the vote of thanks.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. It is really a great privilege vested upon me, and of course, I'm immensely happy to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of Western College of Education on the third day of International Webinar Series on Towards Mental Wellness Through Positive Psychology. At the outset, I thank Almighty for His grace to conduct today's program a successful one. At this time, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Honorable Resource Person, Dr. A. Jagita Begum Ma'am, Professor and Head, Department of Education, Gandhigram Rural Institute, Dindigul, Tamil Nadu. Ma'am, the session was very much informative, very rich in content. It was very interesting, ma'am, as you were explaining the brain functions related to the mental health. Thank you very much, ma'am. Ma'am, definitely will be acting as the prefrontal cortex for our children, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I also want to thank Dr. B.C. Shobha, ma'am, Principal, NBK SB College of Education, Asur, Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu, for her prelude address. Thank you very much, ma'am. Also, my sincere thanks to all the members of our management, Western College of Education, who have been our source of support to organize this webinar. My special thanks to our principal, Dr. S. Devasagayam Selvakumar sir, whose strenuous efforts made this event possible. Thank you very much, sir. I also thank the organizers of the program, Dr. Jhansi Priya ma'am and Dr. Jayanta ma'am, for their enormous and continuous work towards the success of this program. I also thank all our staff members. Finally, I thank all the participants of this webinar for their active participation. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Evelyn ma'am. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, all the participants. Feedback form will be provided in the last day of the webinar, and your attendance will be monitored by the organizers. Certificates will be provided to all the participants who have attended all 5 days of the program. Thank you all. Now I request every one of you to stand on your respective places for the national anthem.